she uses it naturally. So I'm just trying to help her hone it and realize what she's doing, because I don't know that she even realizes that that's what she's doing. So we're just trying to give language to when she's making a sound while we're out and about moving. I acknowledge, oh, I hear that you're doing it. And we've had to refine her sound because she was using like high-pitched squeals, which we don't do in school hallways or anywhere really. So we've been talking about polite sounds, and she's been playing with different clicks, and then we've done the shh activity, and I've just taken a Wheatley closed and place it in front of her and have her identify it. She's either really good at it or she knows where I move it to. So I'm not real sure that that's inaccurate, but she has started, she loves to go to the basement of her school building to work, which is just a big empty concrete room with some writing toys in it. And they have indoor recess in there for preschool and kindergarten if they can't go out. So it is full of echolocation because of just the way the room is set up. So she enjoys being in there for that, and she enjoys riding the riding toys. But as we came up the stairs from there a couple lessons ago, she started naturally using the shh sound as she walked up the stairs and was just playing with the sound. So I'm like, humanly, I want to know, what do I do next?
You said that she's playing with the sound. Can she put in words what she's doing or what she's looking for with the sounds?
Not really. And that's what I'm trying to help her figure out how to do, but I'm not even sure how to go about helping. And I missed the first part of the most recent session with Sarah Elizabeth. And I have not yet found the time to put in and go back and listen to all of that to see. She probably told us in there, but yeah. Time is a challenging thing, as we all know.
Well, and as far as she probably told us, I'm not really sure.
Okay.
So what experiences have you had with it so far?
The only thing I have is just a couple consumers who use it that have learned it naturally. And of course, all of my consumers are older. So I think I've got one lady who wears high heels everywhere she goes. And that with her metal cane tip, she's able to get within a few inches of a wall off of sounds alone.
I'd be curious to talk to her and figure out, did she know what she was doing as she learned herself? And what did she utilize? How did she learn? That would be interesting to know.
The conversation that we had about it a couple of times is, she's like, you just listen, you just pay attention, you just listen. Because I was telling her how I did a presentation for social security disability determination years ago, and how like blindness was like the #1 faked disability, and how I told her like people would probably think that she was faking it, how she can get so close to a wall and not touch it with her cane or anything. And she just couldn't believe it. She very outspoken young lady. It's like, you just listen, it's so easy. No, not for everyone, not so easy.
Well, that's interesting. A faked disability. I have never even thought about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, people trying to get on Social Security disability. And that's been years, probably 7 years ago or so that I did that presentation.
Well, with my experience, I have a completely blind freshman, and that's blindness is her only disability. And so she's always loved playing with sounds, so that's been a good thing. But I feel like ever since she was little, she never used the sounds. I mean, she will listen to a conversation from like 2 miles away and know exactly what you're talking about. But when I tell her, okay, this side of the hallway is full of people, what's going on here, and use that when you're traveling, she doesn't really put 2 and 2 together with that. So what we started with was using the shh thing, just sitting in the classroom and just grabbing different things like a Kleenex box and an iPad. And she started to notice the difference between, like, the iPad case was kind of soft and then the front of it was the glass. So she noticed the difference there. But really, I have gotten to the point where I go, okay, so we're doing this. Do we start clicking? Do we just mess with clicks? How do we really get into that? That's my big question. And also, I found that it works better to just have these naturally occurring situations. Like today, we walked into the choir room and I just stopped her and I said, okay, what's different? Just talk to me, just make some sounds, don't move. Something is different and I want you to tell me what it is. And they usually have chairs on all the risers and all the chairs were gone. And she could tell me that it was echoey. She could tell me that something got moved, but she couldn't tell me exactly what it was. But right there, I thought, okay, that's the kind of thing that makes sense to me to use it with, instead of like prescribed lessons. I don't know. I feel kind of at a standstill, other than I give her homework of go home and use your clicking or use the shh on different surfaces and start thinking about that. And today I had her listen to a little bit of Sarah Elizabeth's session on the material properties. So we might just do that, just kind of take chunks and listen together and talk about it and see what she can glean from that.
That's a really cool idea, for especially with the age that she is, to utilize it that way. And I guess you kind of said there what I was thinking too. And Mandy, your consumer is confirming this for me. I don't know that how much of it should be prescribed lessons and how much of it is just an awareness and helping point out that awareness. I had not gotten into the point of trying different materials and saying, having her tell the difference between. So that's probably where I need to go next, is just try that, explore holding up different things and having her, and I need to listen to that material properties part again before I do that.
That was pretty clear that that's where you start, is with the shh. But beyond that, I am just getting confused. I'm just not sure what the right thing is to do. And maybe there isn't necessarily a right thing. Maybe it's just where our students take us with it.
Yeah, I haven't taught any sounds. Like, I would prefer someone use their cane or natural sounds. People already have a tough time trying to blend in with their cane and feel normal. I feel like if I'm trying to teach someone how to get around their apartment complex, making click sounds are gonna stand out even more. And so, but yeah, like I have a guy that just moved into a new apartment complex, and it's got like an awning on the outside. So, and he uses a 2-point touch technique that I don't like at all, but he's been using a cane longer than I've been alive, so I'm not changing it. And so I just, I'm like, you can hear the echoes from the roof. If you don't hear that anymore, you're in the wrong place, type of thing. So,
I think we did talk about that in the session with her, asking about does it make them come across as weird? And she was saying, well, if you're walking down the street in New York City, and just because you're making that sound, people won't necessarily think much of it. They might think something and then keep walking, but that's also New York. And you're right. With our students, especially with some of them already look different. So that makes them stand out. And then this on top of it. And my student was kind of reluctant to click, but I've told her, whatever you're comfortable with doing, that's what we'll do. And so when she makes the clicking sound, I don't feel like it's very effective, because it's just a really timid little, because I think she might be embarrassed.
yeah, and that's with the clicking sound. I've been following Dan Quiche, as I pronounce his last name, for years. And I know it's a particular sound you have to make, and you have to do it on a, like, it has to be very consistent. And I don't feel like I have enough training time with anyone to train them to get that at a consistent sound level for it to be useful either. So that's the other reason I would prefer them use their cane if they're doing like a 2-point touch technique where that's pretty consistent. So yeah, that's something because I mean, even just me trying it, and like, I can't do it consistently, even like with the shush thing. And of course you're doing it yourself, so you're like, I know when I'm putting it in front of my hand, but I'm like, I feel myself going shh. Like, I can't do it consistently.
So if I remember right, the difference between listening to the sound like from the cane or from your consumer's high heels, as opposed to the sound made by the mouth, is where the sound is going to bounce back from. Isn't that right? That if the origination of the sound is on the floor, it's going to bounce back to a different place. Whereas if you make it from your mouth, it bounces straight out. It comes straight back to the ears.
I think that's right, except that she talks about the soft things versus the hard things. So hard surfaces reflect the sound, soft surfaces absorb it. So in that case, would it even matter where it's originating? I don't know. I
think the where then comes in if the sound is going from my mouth to the window in front of me and being absorbed, there's still some amount of it that comes back. So I know better the location of the window as to where, if I'm tapping with my cane, where does that sound go? I'm trying to process this. So you're just going to get, it's not that it's bad information. You're just going to get different information.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, what I'm seeing from them is it's more of just locating walls and openings and awnings and those types of things versus they're not using it for hard or soft surfaces. Or, you know, I watched Sarah find a seat in a conference using echolocation. So, you know, nobody that I'm training is at that level yet.
Right. And doesn't Dan Kish, he can teach somebody to like outline a vehicle.
Oh yeah.
I've seen him do that, or a post in like a mailbox as I'm driving down this road with mailboxes all on the side. Makes me think about that.
Right. Well, and Sarah Elizabeth talked about the very first shape. I don't know, Mandy, if you remember this part, but the very first shape she talked about, it looked basically like a triangle with a little circle on top. And she said it's people that she outlines the people. So then the question is, so do you walk up to people going click, 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 click? Or because in my brain, it would have to be repetitive in order to get enough to make that outline.
Because that's what I mean, because in the conference, there's people sitting in, you know, an open chair or whatnot. And so she was able to identify what chair didn't have a person in it.
Right.
So, you know, at the conference, I watched her pick a chair and sit down, didn't think much of it. And then she went and presented a little bit later and found out she was totally blind. And I was like, what? How did she find her seat earlier? So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I was just like, okay, maybe she's totally blind, but she can still see a little bit or something. Because I have people that tell me they're blind and then they can read DVDs across the room. That just happened last week. So I was just thinking like, okay, maybe her definition of blind is a little bit different than what I'm used to. And then after the presentation the other day and how she was talking about it, like she can identify her students' heads and whether they're sitting up and whatnot. And I was like, that's how she found her seat.
Yes, that she was talking about watching her students like on a street corner and knowing if they're facing the right direction. How? I want to know how.
A lot of practice.
For sure. When we first talked about doing this, it was more like, I guess, what we're doing right now, just working with students, clients, and then coming back and talking about it. But we really need somebody who can answer the questions. So maybe, I wonder if she would mind, I'll email her and ask her if she would mind answering some questions. And
Okay, thank you.
maybe if we had enough interest, we could have her back at some point. That would be great, but I don't know if that would work this year.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just come up with that. Let's come up with a list of questions and I can send them to her and we can talk about it next time and see how
Sure.
it's looking. So what are some things that I guess I would ask, what are next steps after the
So are we just at a disadvantage because we don't use this in our daily lives? And we've also not been through 100 and however many hours of training doing it like we were with a cane.
Mm-hmm.
To really know. I mean, she has an advantage over us in teaching it because she uses it constantly. So I wonder if there are sighted people out there who feel more comfortable teaching it that we could talk to.
For me, the reason that I did end up just teaching several things incidentally is because we have other things we have to work on. And I'm sure you guys are the same way. We can't spend a whole lesson just talking about the way things sound. It has to be more like a little tiny bit here, and then let's go apply it if it shows up in what we need to work on.
Yeah.
So here's what I have so far. What are the next steps after the shh? Do you jump into clicks? And then what are strategies for clients who aren't comfortable with the clicks? Are we at a disadvantage because we haven't been trained to do this? Do you know of anyone who would talk to us, give us guidance in next steps?
And I mean, I personally, my issue is the click itself. Like, I mean, I know how to make the sound, but does it need to be a certain, like, is it supposed to be harder? Is it supposed to be loud? Is it like just the click in itself? I don't want to be training someone to do it wrong and they're not getting that proper sound the whole time and they can't do it. And then it's like, well, I didn't teach you the right sound.
Well, and I think in the presentation, she was saying that it just has to be sharp. Because I asked her, like, does your tongue does it have to be in a certain place? And she was saying, was it the N sound making, and that's where your tongue should be, like when you make that sound?
Okay.
Yeah, really, it has to, you can make a tiny sound or.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is like, I mean, I can click several different ways and sounds. So like I said, I don't want to teach someone the wrong way and it's not helping.
Right, and in the Daniel Kish videos, he's not doing that big loud sound, is he?
Mm-mm.
Well, and that's what Sarah talks about, is she can do it in a way that nobody else around her even notices. So is that again just from years of practice?
I can testify to that because she did it. One, I think she had talked about too, because we were like in a big like conference room at a hotel. And so she was using the like ventilation air conditioner sound for like to get a layout of the room.
Wow.
People and all, you know, just using all of the sound sources available.
Maybe we just need to put into our budget next year, bringing her in person to teach us to do this.